Your urine is talking to you every single day. Ignoring its signs could mean missing the earliest clues about your health. I'll show you how to read them and make changes that keep your body balanced and strong. Every day, without realizing it, your body sends you quiet, subtle signals about how it's functioning. One of the clearest, yet most overlooked, comes from something you see multiple times a day: your urine. Most people glance without thinking, flush, and move on. But what if I told you that the color, smell, and even the timing of urination can reveal remarkable insights about your hydration, your diet, and even your overall well-being? And here's something to keep you listening until the end. I've prepared a special bonus tip that will help you enhance these results naturally, something almost no one talks about, yet it can make a real difference in your daily energy and long-term balance. Urination is more than just a way for the body to get rid of waste. It's a real-time reflection of how your systems are working. The kidneys, liver, hormones, and even your sleep patterns leave their fingerprints there. Think of it as a daily health check that you don't need to schedule, pay for, or wait on. It's right there, free of charge, several times a day. However, here's the catch. Ignoring what you see could mean missing out on early signs that something in your lifestyle needs adjustment. You don't have to panic. Most changes are not emergencies. But when you notice them and act early, you give yourself the best chance to stay balanced and healthy. Let's start with something simple: hydration. Americans often consume large amounts of coffee, sodas, and energy drinks, but surprisingly little pure water. These drinks might quench thirst temporarily, but they can alter the color and odor of urine in ways that might confuse you about your true hydration level. For example, a person can be dehydrated and still have relatively light-colored urine if they've just consumed a large coffee. On the flip side, drinking plenty of water doesn't mean you're hydrated if your electrolytes are out of balance, something that can happen with high-processed food intake. The color of your urine can also be a silent reminder of what you've been eating. That deep yellow after taking a multivitamin? Often that's excess B vitamins your body didn't use. A pale, almost clear color? You might be drinking more water than your body needs, flushing out minerals unnecessarily. And while this might sound harmless, overhydration can actually make you feel tired, dizzy, or even disrupt your muscle function. But here's the most fascinating part. Your urine is dynamic. It changes not just from day to day, but throughout the day, reflecting what you've eaten, how much you've moved, and what your body is processing at that exact moment. That's why paying attention just once isn't enough. The real insight comes from noticing patterns. Once you start seeing those patterns, you'll realize you have more control than you thought. Adjusting your hydration, balancing your intake of natural foods over processed ones, and staying mindful of how supplements affect you can keep your body functioning smoothly. And the more consistently you watch for these signs, the more naturally you'll begin to anticipate your body's needs before discomfort or fatigue appear. Still, color is only one layer of the story. The next aspect we'll explore is something that, combined with color, can completely change how you understand what's happening inside you. It's often ignored until it becomes obvious, and by then, you might have already missed weeks of important information. The next tip is one of the most important, and overlooking it won't just limit your results. It could lead to effects you definitely want to avoid, even if they develop quietly over time. If the color of your urine is like a visual report from your body, then the smell is like the fine print, often skipped over, but holding crucial details. Many people only notice it when it becomes strong or unpleasant, yet even subtle changes can tell you something important about your internal balance. Odor can be influenced by what you eat, drink, and even how your body metabolizes certain nutrients. For example, asparagus has a well-known effect that comes from specific sulfur compounds. But here's something less obvious. A sweet or fruity smell can sometimes appear after high sugar intake, even from sources many Americans think of as healthy, like flavored yogurts or smoothies loaded with added syrups. Coffee, so common in the American morning routine, can also leave a distinct aroma that lingers for hours, sometimes masking other important changes. Energy drinks and sodas, with their mix of artificial flavors and sweeteners, can produce odors that your body didn't generate naturally. They're chemical markers of what's been circulating in your system. Even a diet rich in processed meats like bacon and sausages can shift the scent because of the nitrates and preservatives they contain. But the most fascinating thing about odor is that it often changes before color does. That means it can act as an early signal that something is different. Perhaps your body is breaking down proteins faster, or maybe you're mildly dehydrated without realizing it. For example, when you haven't had enough water, waste products like urea become more concentrated and the odor grows sharper. That's your body telling you to restore fluid balance, ideally with water and mineral-rich whole foods rather than sugary sports drinks. This is where daily awareness can make a real difference. Imagine you notice a stronger smell mid-afternoon compared to the morning. That might point to not just hydration levels, but to what you ate for lunch. Maybe a fast food meal high in salt and fat. Over time, you might find a pattern. Certain choices always bring certain changes. Once you see that, you can begin adjusting your diet in a way that supports steady energy, better digestion, and healthier kidney function. One point worth mentioning is that odor isn't always about what you put in your mouth. Hormonal changes, even mild ones, can influence it. For example, during periods of stress, the body may shift how it processes proteins and fats, subtly altering the scent without you changing your diet at all. This is why tracking both color and odor together provides a fuller picture than focusing on just one sign. The real key is not to treat these changes as random or unimportant. They are your body's feedback system, free, constant, and personalized. The more you pay attention, the more you can adjust your lifestyle before small imbalances grow into something that affects your daily comfort. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The time of day you notice these changes can completely change their meaning. Morning, afternoon, or night. Each tells a different story about your hydration, metabolism, and even your sleep quality. And understanding those timing patterns can help you make targeted changes that go far beyond just drinking more water. The next tip is one of the most important, and ignoring it won't just limit your results. It could quietly set the stage for effects you'd much rather prevent. If color is the first visual sign and odor is the fine print, then the timing of your urination is like the context that gives both clues their meaning. Many people assume that the only important factor is how often they go, but in reality, when you urinate can reveal as much about your health and daily habits as the appearance and smell of it. Let's start with the first urination of the day. This is often the most concentrated because your body has spent hours processing and filtering while you sleep. If you're well hydrated, it might still be darker than what you see later in the day, but it shouldn't have an unusually strong odor or be so dark that it resembles amber. If it does, that could mean you're going to bed without enough fluids in your system, a habit that can affect not just hydration, but also your digestion and energy the next day. Now think about the intervals between trips to the bathroom. If you find yourself urinating very frequently during the day, despite not drinking much water, that could be your body's way of telling you it's trying to get rid of excess sodium or other substances, often linked to processed food intake. On the other hand, going long stretches without urinating may indicate you're not getting enough fluids, or that your body is holding on to water due to high salt consumption or hormonal factors. The night can also be a window into your body's rhythms. Waking up once to urinate after several hours of sleep might be normal for some, especially if you've had water later in the evening. But getting up multiple times, particularly if you're not drinking much before bed, might point to something in your diet or your evening habits, such as the common American custom of having sweetened iced tea, soda, or alcohol at dinner, which can impact how your kidneys and bladder work during rest. Timing also plays a role in hydration strategy. Many people drink large amounts of water all at once, often because they realize late in the day that they haven't had enough. While this might temporarily improve urine color, it can actually dilute key minerals too quickly, leaving you feeling lightheaded or fatigued. A steadier intake throughout the day helps keep your body balanced, supports kidney function, and prevents unnecessary stress on your bladder. What's most interesting is how timing interacts with both color and odor. For instance, a darker, stronger-smelling urine in the morning could simply be the overnight effect, but the same pattern in the middle of the afternoon might point to something different, like dehydration from coffee intake or high-protein meals earlier in the day. This is why understanding timing transforms your observations from scattered clues into a full picture. Paying attention to when you urinate and connecting it with what you've eaten, how much you've moved, and how well you've rested can give you the kind of daily health insight most people miss entirely. This awareness doesn't require major lifestyle changes all at once, just small, consistent adjustments that add up. But here's the part that surprises most people. The real power comes when you combine timing with the patterns you've already noticed in color and odor, and you track them together over days or weeks. This combination can help you spot small shifts before they become bigger issues and guide you toward more effective, targeted habits for hydration, nutrition, and rest. The next tip is one of the most important, and ignoring it won't just limit your results. It could quietly set the stage for effects you'd much rather prevent. When you start combining what you've observed, the color, the odor, and the timing, you unlock a deeper layer of understanding about your body's inner workings. Most people look at these signs separately, but the real insight comes when you recognize patterns that repeat and reinforce each other. Imagine you've noticed your first urine of the day is darker than usual, and later in the morning, even after drinking water, it still carries a sharp odor. If this happens occasionally, it might not mean much. But if it becomes consistent over several days, that's your body asking for attention. It might be signaling that your fluid intake isn't meeting your needs, or that your diet is pushing your kidneys to work harder than they should. These patterns aren't only about hydration. They can reveal the cumulative effects of habits that seem harmless in isolation. For example, maybe you enjoy processed breakfast meats a few times a week, drink 2 or 3 coffees before lunch, and often skip fresh fruits and vegetables until dinner. Each of these choices, on its own, might not change much, but together, over time, they influence the concentration, scent, and frequency of your urination in ways that can subtly affect your overall comfort and energy. Another example is overcompensating with water late in the day because you didn't drink enough earlier. This can flood your system quickly, leading to very pale urine in the evening, but also causing frequent nighttime trips to the bathroom, which can disrupt your sleep quality. That disrupted sleep then influences your hydration needs and energy levels the next day, creating a cycle you might not even realize is connected. One of the most empowering things about recognizing these combined signs is that they give you the chance to take small, meaningful actions before you feel unwell. Simple changes, like spreading your water intake evenly throughout the day, adding fresh produce earlier in your meals, and reducing heavy sodium foods at dinner, can improve not just the way your urine looks and smells, but also your digestion, energy, and even your mood. This approach is about making observations and responding with balance, not extremes. You don't need to chase perfect hydration or obsess over every color change. Instead, use these patterns as feedback to guide smarter daily choices. Over time, you'll learn to notice subtle improvements: steadier energy, fewer mid-afternoon slumps, and a more comfortable night's sleep that tell you your adjustments are working. And here's where it gets interesting. The more you practice this awareness, the more you'll begin to anticipate what your body needs before discomfort sets in. That's the point where these insights move from being just interesting information to being a powerful tool you use naturally without overthinking it. The next tip is one of the most important, and ignoring it won't just limit your results. It could quietly set the stage for effects you'd much rather prevent. When you start to see color, odor, and timing as connected parts of one message, patterns begin to emerge that are far more telling than any single observation. This is where the real insight happens. Not in isolated moments, but in the way your body communicates through repetition and consistency. Each signal builds on the others, forming a story that can guide you toward healthier daily decisions. Let's say you notice that mid-morning, after breakfast, your urine tends to be darker and carries a stronger smell. If breakfast often includes processed meats, cheeses, or packaged pastries, foods high in sodium and preservatives, the kidneys may be working harder to remove excess substances. That, combined with limited water intake early in the day, can lead to concentrated urine with a noticeable odor. Now imagine pairing that observation with the fact that your first urination of the day was also darker than usual. 2 points of data in a row might be telling you that your hydration strategy and morning food choices could use an adjustment. Another example: you drink plenty of water during the day, but you also consume several cups of coffee or sweetened tea. While the water might keep the color relatively light, caffeine acts as a mild diuretic, increasing urine frequency and sometimes contributing to a sharper smell. Over time, this can cause you to lose more fluids than you realize, leading to subtle dehydration that might not be obvious until you start feeling sluggish. Patterns can also reveal how your evening habits affect your nights and mornings. For instance, if you enjoy a salty dinner followed by a late-night snack, you might notice your first urination the next morning is darker and more odorous than usual, even if you drank water before bed. This happens because your body is still balancing the salt and processing the food you ate late. When you recognize this link, you can experiment with reducing sodium at dinner or spacing your last meal earlier, and then see how your body responds over the next few mornings. The value of spotting these patterns is that they allow you to act with precision. Instead of making random changes and hoping for the best, you can test small, intentional adjustments and watch for clear signs of improvement. This is a far more sustainable way to build healthy habits because it's based on feedback from your own body rather than on one-size-fits-all advice. The more you practice noticing these combinations of color, odor, and timing, the more skilled you become at catching small shifts before they grow. You'll start to see the difference between a harmless, temporary change, like the effects of a new vegetable in your diet, and a recurring pattern that calls for attention. This is about becoming your own observer and advocate, using the signs your body gives you to make choices that keep you balanced, energized, and comfortable. The better you get at connecting these dots, the more naturally you'll adjust your daily routine to support your health without feeling restricted or overwhelmed. The next tip is one of the most important, and ignoring it won't just limit your results. It could quietly set the stage for effects you'd much rather prevent. By now, you've learned how to observe and interpret the color, odor, and timing of your urination, and how these factors interact to give you meaningful insights into your health. You've also seen how recognizing patterns over time can guide you toward better choices. Now it's time to take this understanding and turn it into consistent, practical action. This is the part that ties everything together, the moment when awareness becomes a daily habit that works for you. The first step is to build a routine of mindful observation. This doesn't mean obsessing over every trip to the bathroom. Instead, think of it as a quick mental check-in. Notice the color, the scent, and how long it's been since the last time you went. Over a few days, you'll begin to notice small consistencies. And just as importantly, you'll notice when something is different. Once you have this baseline, you can start making subtle, targeted adjustments. If you see darker colors and stronger smells in the morning, try drinking a full glass of water before your coffee. If your midday urine is consistently more concentrated, it might be time to add a hydration break between meals. And if you're waking up at night to urinate often, look at your evening beverage choices. Cutting back on caffeine, alcohol, or sweetened drinks after dinner can make a big difference. The beauty of this approach is that it's personal. You're not following a rigid plan someone else designed. You're responding to your own body's signals in real time. This makes it easier to stay consistent because every change you make has a clear reason and a visible result. And now, as promised, here's the bonus tip: a simple yet powerful way to enhance your results naturally. Each morning, after your first glass of water, add a small squeeze of fresh lemon. Not only does this support hydration, but it can also help maintain a healthy balance in your urinary system by providing natural antioxidants and a refreshing boost to your digestion. It's a small, safe, and easy addition to your day that can complement everything you've learned so far. As you put all these pieces into practice, remember that the goal is steady progress, not perfection. Your body will continue to send you signals, and the more you listen, the more you'll be able to respond in ways that keep you feeling balanced, energetic, and in control of your health. Taking care of yourself doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes, the most powerful tools are the ones you already have, like paying attention to what your body is showing you every single day. When you combine awareness with small, consistent action, you create habits that protect your well-being for years to come. If this knowledge has been valuable to you, share it with someone you care about, give it a like, and consider joining this community so we can continue exploring ways to understand and support our health together.